Hello, everybody. Jared Voley here for CreativeStandup.com. This email is going to be it's coming from Germany, and it's about what to do if you're feeling like one comedian is stealing a lot of material from you. And so I'll go ahead and read you some of the email. It says, I live in Germany. I've been doing comedy for a few years. And there's another comic that's stealing my material. He says it's not parallel thinking. It is almost word for word theft. So how do I protect myself from theft the best way? Especially because he's like a bigger comic in the scene. So he says that people would believe him. He's a bigger fish. So the first thing I would ask is, are you sure that people would believe him over you? Because if it's word for word, like I don't care who's bigger or not, you can show me word for word that something was stolen, and it doesn't matter what I want to believe. I'll have to look at that and say, yeah, that's very, very similar. Whether or not that says you stole it is a totally different thing. What you're saying is word for word. It's word for word. I would probably need to see more context. There are some jokes that just naturally would there's only a couple different ways that you might want to structure it. Like if it's a pun, for instance, the way that you would tell the audience a pun is going to be very similar. And so if you and I are both writing a pun on the same word, then we have a very limited number of choices that we could actually choose from that would work. So it would make sense for some jokes naturally lend themselves more to being stolen than others. Anyway, so my first thought is make sure that that's actually true, is that you think that people would not believe you, but it's quite possible that they're thinking the same thing about you. Whatever you do, I think it should be done in a respectful way, and that's not because I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. This guy might be a total dick. He might always be doing this. He might totally actually deserve it, but at the same time, you need to approach it from a professional standpoint. Assume that he's an okay person until it is proven otherwise. So the first thing I would say, ask other people. So you ask other people, and then number two would be to confront that person directly. And then number three, if none of that works, would be to try to find a way to go over their head and express your concerns. So for number one, let me tell you about why I would do it that way. I would talk to other people first to make sure that I'm correct in my understanding or correct in my estimate that I think that this was stolen from me. That would be a very respectful thing. I would not say this was stolen. I would say, do you think that these are too similar? Okay, or I would say, like, I feel concerned about this. Can you tell me if I am justified in feeling concerned given these two pieces of material? That way, if you're wrong, then you just express your concern. That's not you haven't really you haven't claimed that he's stealing from you or anything like that. So it's very respectful. But at the same time, what you're also doing is you're allowing that person to also kind of have this mental filter that they're going to use whenever they're watching that person. Like the next time they see it, maybe they'll notice something that you don't, or maybe they'll even say, that was close, but then like 3 jokes later, he stole a joke from this guy over here, and then 5th joke was mine. And well, it wouldn't be that obvious, but anyway, so what I'm saying is that you would give them the ability to start saying, okay, I really do feel like you're onto something here. So asking the group in a respectful manner is the best first step, because it is something that would allow the group to have this kind of perfect information, right? The best thing you can have is perfect information so that everybody knows what's going on, and then even if the person that's stealing kind of knows what's going on as well, then they can just say, okay, it is not okay for me to be doing this anymore, and then they're gonna get afraid and stop, right? So I think perfect information is what would be ideal. Obviously, it's not possible, but that is the ideal situation. From there, once you have talked to a few people and you feel like you're still justified, I would go up and confront that person. Again, I would do it respectfully. It's not about I want to put you down. I pull you down. You're saying he's a bigger fish or whatever, or it's not like I'm trying to one up you or anything. I would express my concern about having so much overlap between something that I obviously wrote much earlier than you and something that this person just happened to come up with later on. there are definitely varying levels of what I would say is a theft. You're saying word for word, which is as you know, that is a level 10 out of 10 for theft. But then, you know, from there, it's just like kind of like parallel thinking would probably be somewhere around like a 5 or so, and then from there, maybe like going down like a 3 would be like you and I share like the same kind of premise, and maybe it's a pretty original premise, but it's not enough to really be upset about. So that would be what I would do. And then from there, let's say that this is not working. There are even in a decentralized industry like stand-up comedy, there's going to be some gatekeepers there. You know, the gatekeepers are the people that allow you onto the shows. Those people, in effect, have a small amount of authority to make sure that that person does not come on the show. And depending on how depending on the culture or how bad this joke thief is, then those people can have a lot more authority to say, like, I'm not going to allow you to come on the show anymore. You know, like maybe this open mic show. I remember one of the first, actually it was the first, because I've stressed out about it for a long time, I remember. But the first time I was invited to go on a tour, I was super excited, and as a young comedian, I knew I had to do it. Like, of course you go on a tour right away. And then so I asked a couple of people, I'm like, okay, so have you done this tour, or have you done anything with this person? And every person came back and said, this person is going to try to steal material. All of them. I think it was like 3. Every single, but anyway, it was like 3 out of 3 people said, don't do it. This guy is not going to play straight with you. And that was a super hard decision. It seems stupid now, because why would I have cared about this guy's crappy little tour, right? But when I was doing it, that was a huge decision. And it was just because the people that know that someone's going to be stealing material, they talk to everybody else, especially when you ask them questions. You need to make these things public, but not in a way that makes you the villain. So what I would say is that even perhaps, I don't know where in Germany you're from, but so let's say there's at least one big comedy club there. Eventually, you would probably want to take your concerns to whoever is booking that show, but you would want to do it in a way, you would want to do it only after you have a considerable amount of support for your side. Like, it's kind of a political thing at that point. So that would be my idea. And again, there's no good answer here that's just everybody's happy. I mean, this is something where it's already kind of like it's more of a moral dilemma than anything else. So that is my my take on it from just a stand-up comedy perspective. I will also add this, and this is the creative part of me. I talked about it on Creativity for Comedians, but people are absolutely horrible at figuring out which original ideas that they should be stealing. I studied this in business and in art. It's incredible when you look at this, and like, if you know, like Google, before they came out, they tried to sell the algorithm to Yahoo for $1 million. Right? So it's not even like a theft thing. Like, Yahoo had to try to kind of steal the ideas later on when they figured out they made a mistake. But with this highly original idea, people don't know what's going to happen, so they don't really value it. And if they don't value it, they're definitely not going to steal it. And so I think about going to comedy. Steve Martin performed comedy for 10 years before he started getting famous. Right? 10 years where people should have been stealing his material. Right? That's the time to steal, because then you can get really good with him, and when he breaks, you would break as well. Right? Breakout. So that would be the time to steal, but people don't do that. You don't see that in any industry. When somebody is being original, or when somebody's being highly original, the ability for somebody to steal that material goes way, way down. And it goes down for 2 very logical reasons. The first is that if I want to steal your material, but you're doing something incredibly unique, then there's almost no way that I can get away with that. Right? Everybody's going to put that together very quickly. The only way someone can steal material is if your material looks a little bit like their material, looks a little bit like their material, and I can find this like small spot in between where it's this gray area and people aren't quite sure. right? That's the best way. If you want to steal material, that would be the best kind of material to steal, where everybody is like, well, I guess that's fine because it's not close enough. But if you are trying to steal some highly unique material, it's going to be super obvious because everybody is going to compare you to one person, right? And they'll know that that one person, that highly original person, was the first one. So that's why copycats, they come late into the show, right? They come like 10 years into Steve Martin's career, and then they start trying to catch up, and it never works because everybody always compares them to the master of that thing, right? So the number one way of making sure nobody ever steals your material is to be doing something that is highly original, right? So that's the first reason. And the second reason why I would never, or I keep saying I, but anyway, the people would never steal material from somebody that's being highly unique is because those ideas have not been proven yet. So why would a thief want to take on extra risk of being caught because there's only one person to compare, right? So there's more of a risk that I get caught. And as well, I would have to worry about this, this unproven idea, right? So it becomes more risky and you get less of a return for it, right? So the more unique you are as a comedian, the less likely it becomes that anybody will touch your material, right? And that's for two good reasons that are good reasons for them. We're not even talking about morality. Even if that joke thief is the least moral person in the world, just looking at the numbers, high risk, low reward, why would they steal it? So anyway, that would be the number one defense, is to make sure that it becomes super hard to steal your material in the first place. Anyway, so that's going to be all for this video. I'm Jared Voley for CreativeStandup.com.